over here and look at Spy Elite. Team Spy is back inside of the grind. I want to see what Spy has to offer. The last time when we saw Spy perform, unfortunately, there were a lot of struggles, but this time, hopefully those struggles are now going to be ironed out.
Well, let's see, are they ironed out properly? So that is, I think, something we have to focus on. But ladies and gentlemen, again, the 6 matches that are going to be played are in front of us. First, Erangel, Miramar, Sanok to be played by Group 7. And then when we move on to the next 3 maps, Erangel, Miramar and Sanok again, they are going to be played by the teams of Group 8. So it is similar. This thing is never going to change until we are done with the entirety of the grind. And it is going to be quite interesting to see how, in fact, teams deal with the situation now, because in a tournament that's going to last 4 weeks, you get 6 matches, and of course there are 255 other teams that you are competing against, 256 in total in the grind, and you have to figure out a way to get into the top 64. It is so difficult when you think about it. It is very tough to make it through.
I mean, hey, the format's super cutthroat, and that's what makes the tournament even more entertaining. And then you just add on the points distribution as well. It's going to just add the icing on top of the cake. The entertainment's going to be action-packed, ladies and gentlemen. But moving on forward, we know Group 7's going to be the one to kick off the day, Johnny. And it's not Group 7. We also saw UP50. Now, that's quite a known name. We know there are some known players as well inside of the roster. But this team has always struggled to qualify. Hopefully the same thing's not going to be repeating. But what are your thoughts about this team?
I mean, I like UP50, to be honest. I mean, UP50 is one of those teams, as we had the conversation about Kemin and Insane yesterday. UP50 is also one of those orgs and teams that is known for bringing future talent to the forefront of that Tier 1 circuit and introducing them to what Tier 1 actually feels like, consistently playing with the best team in the country. But, I mean, I believe it is going to be an exciting set of matches, and we have a lot of exciting stuff for you guys, ladies and gentlemen. Let's check it out.
Let's check it out. นี่คือโน้ตนี่โพสต้านี่ Yeah. 시나티가 거의 다 라이도 이스마이도 되가 마이케노 비디오도 아거의 타이나기 에스트가 더 가난이나 봐. Dito tengah tu Miramar ni. Ít phục sau nào nè. Còn sang rẽ. Ay sakla nito. May tao diba? Ako kita pinataw ko. Ay di, hindi may dalap.
Man, that amazing XC. Whenever I see it, I just want to lie. But you know what? Getting back to the conversation that we're having just before this. Yeah, UP50 is one of those new teams. Not exactly new teams, but one of those teams that has been known for a long time. And they keep on recruiting those new players. They keep on trying to get that new talent on board a lot of the times. But they're also quite the known faces inside the team, too. Moving on forward towards a couple of those teams that are returning back. Celsius now. Once again, there are a couple of players inside of Celsius who used to play back in the day for Blood Rose Esports, and you know Blood Rose was one of that team that was super aggressive. So I guess Celsius is now pretty much going to be aggressive too, and now they have the motive for it. The point structure, it forces them to be even more aggressive.
Exactly, and then, as you said, Blood Rose last time was, in its true essence, the complete underdog team we were looking forward for. The players, yes, compared to the other lads, they were lacking a little bit of experience of what top tier competition looks like, but they coped up quite nicely. They took their sweet time to adjust to the lobbies, to adjust to the players, and then when they knew, all right, this is what we have to do, they just went all guns blazing. And that is something that we can be hopeful about from Celsius as well, considering now they come in with a lot more experience. But along with them, even Element X, this is a name we have seen in the past as well. Last group, another set of players we have seen in the past. But it will be interesting to see, have they actually gone ahead and worked on the small nicks and crannies to fix their mistakes and just be able to finish in the top 64. Otherwise, going through the other options, it is going to be a struggle to make it through to the BGIS.
Exactly, but then how can you forget about some of the big dogs now? IQ Soul, that's going to be inside of this group. Metal Esports, that's going to be in the group. IQ Soul, do I really need to speak a lot about this team? This team is
คิดกันมา
on the forefront of the Indian esports community so far. And then moving on forward towards Metal Esports, recently this team has been struggling a little bit. They've been making a little bit of tweaks and changes here and there.
แล้วใช่กูสอนแล้วเดี๋ยวต้องหา
And
เรา
inside
ย่อย
this
เสีย
tournament, those tweaks are going to be working out perfectly
แล้ว
well.
เตยทีมคนจะ
Considering
RIP
Metal
มิโซ
Esports
มิ
are
โซ
gonna be
มิ
facing
โซรัง
off
มี
against
เป็น
some
ตัวแร
of the
ก
new teams. It will be a little bit of an easy piece of cake for some of these known teams inside of the community because their scores being at the top of the game, but still, Metal Esports, these can be the testing grounds that they would want to test their
ก็
lineup.
เมดัลยอร์
Exactly, and I mean, it will be important for them as well because Medal, the last time
Rising
they
Star
were
of
around, they did
Celta,
quite well
right?
for themselves. I mean,
Bulls.
they were one of the best performing teams, but this time, again, the competition, the antes have been taken to a whole another level, and none of these underdog teams are going to back off at any given moment.
Oasis.
Cannon Boats as well. I believe we have seen that name in the past as well, in the last grind. But this time around, as I said, things are a little bit different. The format of the tournament itself, the qualification criteria, it's a lot tougher than it was the last time around we were here in the grind. And today, again, considering it is the last day for the opening week, these two groups that are about to perform, and of course the 8 groups that have played in total in this opening, they've set the tone of how this grind is going to go till we reach the halfway mark, till we reach that end of week 2.
And not just that, even Orgulus 5 is another one of those teams that is returning back once again to try and make their name once again. But ladies and gentlemen, we've got a player spotlight in front of us, and this is going to be interesting. Because you guys can see it's Encore from the side of Metal Esports, getting total finishes of 34. Now, this is going to be from the spotlights from the previous BGIS.
Yeah, this is round 3 onwards, where Encore was able to secure 34 finishes from round 3 till the end, and then finish contribution towards his team was 17.4%. Now, the finish contribution might look quite low, but again, as we said, Medal, the last time they were there in BGIS, were just on fire. They were on a destruction spree majority of the time. It wasn't just one player. It was a lot of the individuals from the team. But, as you mentioned, a big change has happened, and that change can definitely be quite detrimental to the end game result. So we will have to be quite observant of how Medal is planning to react to it, what are their strategies to adapt and overcome their shortcomings.
Exactly. Either there can be a big missing piece of the puzzle, or either they could have found a missing piece of the puzzle for their team. And now maybe they've got a champion roster on the way. You never know what this course is going to be. Because as I mentioned, we are also looking for some of the new undergods to just come up at the top inside of the grand finals and perform super well to the point where maybe they're also contesting some of the known teams. Right now, IQ Soul has to be one of the strongest teams that the circuit has to offer. So I want to see even IQ Soul how well they're going to be playing. If you remember, Johnny, the last time when we saw IQ Soul, this was one of those teams that was hunting down squads after squads without even being feared, without even being scared of anyone else inside the lobby. And I think so the same thing might just repeat.
Exactly. The last time this lineup was here, they were playing under a different banner, as we all know about it. And as you said, they were set up as the favorites to win it all, even when we were there in the finals. But unfortunately for them, it was the Gladiators back then who were able to clinch the win for the trophy. And it was quite exciting to see how things have changed from then till now, because everyone just got extremely motivated to take on the Gladiators, who after the previous BGIS were supposed to be the best team in the country. But ladies and gentlemen, who will be the best in this game number 1? We are about to find the answer to that question, as game number 1 is underway and the plane has taken over the map of rank.
Exactly.
Get
the
more,
plane
get
flat
more.
path starting all the way from Noropnoi to Versaverni. Now, this plane flat path is not that bad, but still, if you want to extend all the way towards Georgiapol, then it's going to be a tough stretch, including Godka too. It can be a tough stretch as well. So let's see how the teams are going to be adjusting on forward. Military base is not going to be that big of a deal or that big of a problem. Mikey Soul, they like to go towards the school area, so even for them, it's going to be a smooth sailing. No issues on that regard. Metal Esports, from what I remember, they like to go towards Milta Power. Now, there's a chance they might have changed their drop location depending on how much practice or how well things they have been going through, and now they're going to be dropping towards Noropnoi. My bad. Metal Esports did go to Noropnoi.
Yeah, I think their second drop was somewhere up north as well. Kamishki and Stalba, but this time starting off for Nova Ripno. And for the first time, I think we are seeing 3 teams drop on that military island. I think the last few days of the competition might have given these teams an idea, false hope that maybe everyone, at least for the grind, will not play from the military island. Well, everyone just played themselves. Now you have ASG, Medal, and of course the squad of BH. All 3 teams quite close to each other. Along with them, other drop clashes that might occur. I think one of them is going to be towards school and school apartments, where you have Team Aiku Seoul, and they're not the only ones there. There's 2 other teams dropping in the close vicinity.
Aiku Seoul might just have a possible contention, but I highly doubt anyone would even try to face off against this team. Yeah, there's a team towards Rozhok that's going to capitalize on that spot. Aiku Seoul, of course, dropping in towards the school area. It's Celsius, actually. And it's understandable, too. Celsius is one of those known names as well inside the community. So if they want, they can definitely try and contest a fight. And if they do come out on top, it will be a stark statement. This early inside of the game, who would want to take early blows? Now, moving on forward towards Orgulus 5, even this team is still trying to glide to their comfort zone. And over here, we've got Metal Esports towards Nova Ripno. Now, as I mentioned, going through a little bit of tweaks and changes, Metal Esports, either they are missing a big piece of the puzzle, or they have found that missing piece of the puzzle.
If the puzzle is completed, then we should be able to see Metal in the best form yet. Paradox, Encore, Siam, Kyoya. All of them experienced players, but what's happening over here? An interesting little early game play over there. We have the players from the side of SB. A little bit of a collision. This is Zenji Esports, ladies and gentlemen, right here. And the team that passed them by was One Night Fighters. Here they are. An awkward mid-rotation interaction in the early stage of the game. Could have gone either way. I believe the lads from the side of Zenji did not have any weapons to take him out. That's the only reason this man's alive right now.
Exactly. Towards Pachinki, INF is. And Orgulus 5 is still actually gliding and moving towards their drop location. Interesting. Going in towards Ruins and Gatka area, that's where they are. INF,
Gatka area
of course,
is what
it's
they
one
are.
of the new team that is coming over here inside of the grind. They've got a lot to prove. In general, the first game is always going to be filled with a lot of jitters for these new teams. For the undergods to prove themselves, it will be tough in the first game. But let's hope that things can be a little bit more better. And speaking of hope, even Team Hope, as I mentioned, this team is returning back in the competition. I want to see a little bit more improvements from Hope. Last time when we saw Hope, they definitely had a lot of power. I just want to see them utilize that power and channel it much better.
Yeah, me too. And again, this could be the perfect opportunity to start off strong on Erangel. Then it can definitely snowball into their control in the next 2 maps as well. In the meanwhile, I think this is a comfortable circle. Even the flight path was favoring this as well. It's towards the eastern side. The center, it is going to be shelter, and it's completely abandoned as of now. No one wants to contest it, since for the last 3 days we have been seeing massive clusters develop in stage 2, stage 3, right at the center of the zone. So no one wants to be the last one entering, but right, another awkward mid-rotation interaction as we have players from Orgulus 5. Evoke seems like he has spotted out the players from the side of Aiku Seoul in the distance and wants to avoid heading in their direction.
Orgulus 5, as I mentioned, still quite unsettled. I'm not exactly sure what Aiku Seoul is doing though. Manya is all by himself towards the ruins area, towards the Big Boy Mountain. I guess he was just scouting for vehicles. I'm not sure what Manya is doing all by himself, but there's a chance he might just be caught. And look at this. Aiku Seoul, 2 of the players moving in with the buggy. They're trying to scout out a couple of more players. They do get their sight lines in that compound. They do know there's someone in there. But still, just challenging for the fight just like that is probably not going to be a good idea, and that's what Aiku Seoul realizes. But this is what I'm talking about. The confidence speaks for itself.
Yes, it does, and even for the side of Celsius, we would like to see some plays filled with a lot of confidence as well. As of now, it looks like they're heading up north, want to go for the safer plays. They have crossed the bridge, the Rozhok bridge, and completely shifted over to the northern island of the map. Now, this is quite interesting, that Stalba Kamishki Hill start Normally, it gets you into a very passive position, but this time around, RIP Music, they have this wonderful opportunity because it is still at the northern edge of the circle. They can use that Stalber Hill, get a lot of information of Yasnaya, and if the
Oh
zone
my God, here
eventually
we go.
takes us to that city of Yasnaya, maybe they will have an opportunity to secure a lot of eliminations. But as you said, here we go. Ikusol looks like they're getting too eager to push towards Pochinki.
Yeah. I guess they want to get some early eliminations on their hands, that's for sure. They've got that beginner loadout to back him up. Not a lot of utilities. It is a bit of a concern, but at least they've got the armor suitable for the fight. Weaponry can be a bit of a problem, but still, if you even do manage to get one of the knockouts or one of the squad,
Moi 시도니 자도데.
you will be refreshed up on that.
Em
loot.
nhau
I
thì
guess
họ
both
mới
these players,
nghĩ
they
thì
just
là
want to
cái
get their hands on the better
Tâu- tâu
weapons,
rồi.
and as they have done so, they're now trying to back away towards the school area once again.
어디 라이트 고상.
RIP in front of us, and this team, Nirvana.
RIP
we have
Mizoram,
seen
what
the
is it?
players in the past, Johnny. If you remember Nirvana, Flick, Chaser, we've seen these guys in the past, right? Unfortunately, this team wasn't able to make it that far away, but maybe this time they're back with a revamped mentality, I guess.
Back with a vengeance, you could call it. But
Yeah.
will they actually get vengeance? Will they become vengeance just like Batman did? Or no? We're gonna find that out. It is just getting started. For them, it is just getting started. This is the very first game. And I think one of the reasons, if you have noticed, Necro, this might have been the first game where the first zone is about to end, and we are yet to see the first finish of the game. Everyone wants to build that momentum as quickly as possible, and they are taking their sweet time in gathering as much information as possible in order to engage those fights. Everyone's being extremely safe, extremely passive in this game. I don't know, I am kind of split how I feel about this, because I love the fact that the tactical approach is there, but also early fights are so fun to watch.
They indeed are, actually. And you know I'm a big fan of the early fights, right? And I feel like, considering the point structure, you should be going for the early fights. As soon as you get the 4 points head start, it's going to make you feel a little bit more better. And that's what we've seen, right? The teams that do tend to go for the early collisions, and if they do come out on top later on, they just start feeling a little bit more confident in taking those
하나
fights.
드리.
For example, teams like Orgulus 5 just
Ikaw, Gujarang, ano,
the
Jackie, Chaluda.
side of the map.
Oh,
It
geez.
just showcases that gunfights might just not be their cup of tea. Just the way they're playing. They're playing a little bit too laid back. They're playing a little bit too
Oh, I didn't.
held back.
Jackie dagi halay
Maybe the confidence is a big
They were
issue.
new.
So I guess Orgulus 5, once they do get that confidence, they will start to move a little bit more in a confident way. SB, speaking of them, still towards Primorx.
MDL je bridge lang to kaya aram na medal
Metal
medal
Esports, even they're trying to cross on over from that bridge. It's not going to be that tough of a breaching point for Metal. No one's camping that bridge.
Well, as of now, it's abandoned, and Metal use that to their advantage. Crossover for free. Although, where are they going to go next? That is also important. Majority of the big cities right now, big positions are already taken over. We saw that cluster developing towards Prison, Shelter, Mansion, Milta City. There was
Supreme
one team
Ops,
holding there as well. The only place that I found was available for the players of Metal where they can be in a comfortable position was that farm area, but even there they might have to contest, or not contest, but try and avoid a few teams. Look at that, the cluster developing towards the center of the zone already. IQ stole a little bit late to the party along with UP50 Celsius and OG up top. August 5 still sticking to the western shoreline of the map. That is way too slow.
Exactly.
Same goes for Zenji as
That's
well.
what I'm saying. It just showcases that the confidence is lacking a little bit. And the same thing can be said for SB2. The later you're going to be breaching inside of the zone, the tougher it will be to sustain the spot that
Doon
you
eh.
will have. You will pretty much
Saan
need
ko
like
lang sa atin,
settle down
medyo-
for the
Uy,
spots
tama
that
yung
are left
photo
over,
niya.
which are not going to be good at all. And then you would just need to rely completely on luck and just hope that the circle shifts near you, which is something that you should not do as a competitive team. So that's why being quick on the feet, making quick decisions on the fly should be the initial mentality. But let's see what the game plan is going to be. Maybe they've got some structure up for themselves. Maybe they've got some structured game plan for the future. That's why these guys are taking that late rotation. This is not the first team that we've seen go for the late rotation in the first place. So maybe they've got something planned up. UP50 in front of us, Sirkar. You've got KSI
Oi, hey.
7.
You've
How's
also
it,
got
hey?
Banha and Anonymous.
BGIS
4
yun.
players. Anonymous being, I think, so the newer ones.
Maybe it's just anonymous. I mean, U50, as we were talking about them during the pre-show, yes, they are known for scouting out amazing upcoming players from within the community itself and bringing them, as we said, the forefront of the competitive circuit, but they also have a lot of experienced players within their roster as well, and these players the last time around weren't too shabby with their performance. They might have just missed out by a smidge, but U50, I mean, I'm quite hopeful about them, but RIP Mizo here on our screens again, and they might have run into an awkward situation. We see the players both teams, I think, at this point lacking information about where the opposition is positioned exactly. So they are being hesitant in any sort of engagement, but all of that will be changing in a few minutes.
Celsius still up north, by the way, Johnny, trying to breach his as I mentioned, right, all the good slots that they've already been taken away. IQ Solo is also one of those late breachers, but once again, for some reason, I'm not worried about IQ Solo. Look at the amount of map control they've got. A decent amount of hill control. They've also got the high ground to play with, so it's just going to be the added benefit that Soul's looking for. That's going to give them so much information to play with. SB now finally on a move.
SB ได้ SB ได้กินเอาละเป็นโมสกี้เท่าไหร่แล้วก็จนไปเขาไปมาตั้งซาเลยสเตอร์มาป่าจนไปเขามาจะกำลังมิลตามันไปเขามา
This is kind of weird. Celsius was one of those teams that is known to be aggressive, but this time playing too held back.
Can come back to bite themselves here. Not been a successful run for all of these teams that like to play from edge to edge, but maybe Celsius's plan right now, at least for game number 1, might be just to watch and observe. All right, we will try to survive as possible. In the late game, we're going to secure some extra finishes and make sure tally is good enough. And then in game 2 and game 3, we can try and go all in once we have an idea of what this particular lobby looks like, what's the peak firepower that's there within the teams, and which is the best team that we might have to avoid in the future. So this can be a game plan set by Celsius as well. But here's the interesting thing. Over the last 3 days that we have been watching the grind and in fact casting the grind all of the matches, every single group has that one team that will just bomb very hard in game 1, game 2, and then all of a sudden in game 3 they just show up out of nowhere, win the match, secure a lot of points, and end up on a decent position. I wonder if that is going to happen in this group as well. And if it happens, which team will it be to execute that?
And the prime example for that was yesterday. Windgod. First and the second game were super inconsistent.
Zero elimination.
And then it's out of the third game, they barely clutch it. Winning that
Team,
sound out game,
64 players.
amount of points, and they placed themselves in the top 5. So I would say that was a decent outing in the overall standings. So yeah, Windgod Esports barely able to keep up with the pace, and Sano
RIP RIP Mizoram
You've got RIP. Them being able to get one of the knockouts in the front lines. I did see Flick White get the knockout. Unfortunately, the conversion wasn't exactly there. RS in the front definitely now will be in a little bit of a state of discomfort, considering both these teams, they have been exchanging shots.
Shots exchanged, but not any relevant damage dished out from either side. Nor as they have to be extremely cautious with how they progress. RIP Mizo, rush if possible. So you know for a fact they get those knocks, they are going to rush towards you. In the meanwhile, interesting development over here where we have Element X. Seems like they have the address of where the players of Metal are. Just keeping an eye on the opposition from a distance. This is a good strategy. The moment you see them make a mistake, the moment you see them slip up, that is when you take your shots. Until then, just make sure you see where they're going.
Metal Esports in the front lines. And EM just eyeing them out. 4 players from Metal, packed with a lot of experience. Some big blows. Just waiting to hand them out to someone else. Before now, Celsius. UP50 in the front lines. This could be way worse. Luckily enough, the man or else, if there was a knockout, UP50, they would have been in a big state of panic. Just looking forward to playing things a little bit more safe. SB, if you can see on the southern side, they have taken the bridge control, but I'm not exactly sure. The circle's not even there. And it's going to be covering the majority of the teams. Once again, the good spots are already taken away. Metal Esports too, they will be on the move.
But look at the experience put on display. IQ Soul, they realize, all right, our backs are quite empty, our fronts are cluttered up. Let's just fall back and rotate wide. They're going outside the circle, moving up north, and will be breaching the zone from the northern edge, which right now is the only spot where you can enter the circle from without having to contest any team in a fight. So that's a brilliance, just absolute brilliance of not just mechanics but strategies put on display by the side of Aiku Soul. Along with them, another team that's making a big move is Auglis 5, who have figured out how to breach the circle from the southwestern zone. There were two teams waiting for them on the edge. Auglis 5 did not care, just ran straight through them, found some cover. Well, they're looking for some cover for themselves, and then once they find it, eventually is when they will settle down. In the meanwhile, though, Aiku Soul, it seems like, yeah, Knuckle, that compound is still outside the circle, but it clearly says maybe they can find some extra loot in there. And then it's just a few more meters before they reach the edge of the zone, so not a lot to worry about. What do you mean not a lot? Nothing to worry about for Aiku Soul.
It's funny you corrected yourself.
Yeah.
You answer your own thing, you're like, what do you mean not a lot?
I figured out I like to argue, and if I can't find anyone to argue, I'm just going to argue with myself, man.
Well, I guess that's one way to be a little bit peaceful in your life. Just argue with yourself, don't argue with anyone else. So anyways, you're going to win the argument, be whatever. So at least you'll have the satisfaction of winning something. But yeah, for now, our rest in front of us. And with the way the situations have been moving so far, Orgulus 5, I'm not a big fan of this position they have gotten themselves in. It's pretty much that they have locked themselves inside of this prison. It's going to be tough for the players of Orgulus to move out of this spot. It is one of the worst positions that Orgulus 5 could have actually opted out for, considering the circle is probably not going to be moving that way. Orgulus 5 might have just found themselves in a big pickle here.
It's not easy to escape prison. Of course not. This prison break, it's guarded from both the directions of those hills. And as you said, this is just uncomfortable for them. The only ray of hope that's there for Orgulus 5 is if CB end up colliding against Aiku Soul. Well, not colliding exactly. If Aiku Soul end up committing into a fight against the players of CB, then maybe Orgulus 5 can use that as a distraction and just fall back. But it'll be interesting to see how this fight against One Night Fighters goes for them. They're out in the open. Still out in the open. Just a ridge to cover the rear. There's a team waiting in the compounds up ahead. Milta has two different teams occupying the houses inside of the city, but I think they are just going to stick there until the next shift happens.
Yeah.
50 though. Has Anonymous seen anyone right now? Is he still looking?
Kind of weird. Zone 3 is about to end. Or the stage 3 is about to end. And still we haven't seen a single body hit the deck. This is the first time this thing's happening. Is that it's going to be moving away from prison. OG at this point, they were just hoping for the best possible outcome from the spot they had. Now Orgulus 5, they would need to move out from that spot, moving inside of this circle. It's going to be tough to break through that prison. That's the first case. The second case is, how are you going to defeat Aiku Soul? It's going to be super tough. Aiku Soul now trying to move in with that same direction. Orgulus 5, if they do want to break through, they need to break through right now. There is Aiku Soul around the corner, but you've got no other option, and they will try to hold you off.
Aiku Soul at this point are about to turn into monsters. They're going to start hunting people down, and not just in fights, they will chase them and hunt them down. Because you have three teams that are up ahead from you, and you know for a fact that all of them will try to gatekeep the circle. Gatekeep you from entering the circle. So the only option is you have to take that fight, you have to win that fight, and that's how you gain map control into the next zone. On the other side, did you see where Medal was? They were the only teams in they were the only team in the southern half of that zone. There were three other teams moving in their direction, but Medal was again the only squad with solid cover available to them. So there's no way anyone will be able to pick a fight against them, or even try to pick a fight against them. Look at that. Look on the radar. That red team that you see towards the left of the radar, that's Medal right there. These two teams, they're going to fight amongst themselves.
So the team inside of the prison still stuck there. OG for them to move out of that spot. It's getting tough.
And
then you move on forward. 50. Even they have been engaged inside of the fight. Nicely done. ECE. Two of the players lost out instantly. UP50, they deal with that threat without any problems. Two of the players taken down and dusted. That's going to give them 3 elimination points in total. UP50, that's a great way to kick things off for the final few moments, but still, they need to breach inside of the zone, and that's still the main concern for them. They need to continue their journey in this game. So far, there's too many teams alive. 16 teams so far, not even one single elimination completely.
He's dropping left, right, and center now. Finally, fight's breaking out, but teams are losing individuals. The only team that's about to get wiped out inside of this game is ECE, who are down to their last player. UP50 felt like for a second Anonymous was trying to chase the players from the opposing side, but ASG, they do manage to escape as UP50 slow down a bit amidst the rotation. Again, Sarkar, I believe the vehicles on the other side have been spotted out. The players of OG, their position revealed, and finally shots being fired. Sprays OG in their tracks. None of the shots connect though.
Rough luck. Aku Soul engaging inside of the fight, and they have somehow eliminated the entirety of ASG. That's one way to start things off for yourself. And this is where Aiku Soul, now they've probably tasted how the enemies taste like. And now this is what they just want to move on forward and get a little bit more of the elimination points. OG in the front lines, and slowly and steadily, even this team is now crumbling down. It's not a great news. Two of the players getting knocked out off the bat. OG struggling too much. Nades being tossed in from the side of Aiku Soul. Even if one of the nade connects, Aiku Soul will get the confirmation and instantly press upon the charges. OG, they're losing out on too many man numbers. They can't afford to take this fight. Mohit taken down and dusted.
Hey.
चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं और एक बार अंदर माइक्रोसोल ऑलरेडी 4 फिनिशर्स उनके खाते में जा चुके हैं और सबसे बढ़िया चीज़ है ना यूटिलिटी का बहुत अच्छा इस्तेमाल करती है ये नकुल मोबाइल। पिछले कुछ समय में इनके टॉप ड्रैगन रहे थे, बहुत बेहतर खेला है माइक्रोसोल नकुल ने और इस बार भी वैसा ही कुछ प्रदर्शन वो दोहराना चाहेंगे। बट यहाँ पे ओजीज की भी तारीफ करनी पड़ेगी। आपने देखा कितना अच्छा स्ट्रोक उन्होंने वहाँ पे किया, अपने नॉक प्लेयर को रिवाइव भी उन्होंने दिया, एक प्लेयर गवाया जरूर बट अभी भी पोजीशन होल्ड करके रखी है उन्होंने। जी और साथ ही साथ आप BGIS 2023 की बात कर रहे थे, उस टाइम एस पावर हमें इस टीम के साथ देखने को नहीं मिल रहे थे और वहाँ पे
between them, and you were one of the unknown teams in the lobby who does not have a lot of experience to offer. Reckless, though, just tossing in the constant nades. Does not exactly know where Knuckles' position is, and considering S-Power is able to find one of the knockouts, that's going to be such a massive opening. If Soul wants, they can make the push happen. Considering they've also got the man advantage. Look at where Manya is. Manya's positioned himself all the way inside of the zone, or at least he's scouting out the zone. The utilities, they're not doing too much damage. And Aiku Soul, finally, they make the push happen. S-Power pushing up close and personal. The zone is doing too much damage. And God is outside of the zone, and he's going to try to wrap around these rocks. And that's what he's doing. Aiku Soul, they've got a big backstab approaching them. But God, he whips his shots. He gives his position away. The zone is also moving up. It's going to be UP50 to get the final confirmation on the board. And now UP50, they would need a face-off against Aiku Soul. That's going to be a big challenge for them. OL5-2 in a big world of trouble. The utility finds the knock. Evoke knockdown. LH last hope. For them, the last hope is going to be to make it inside of the zone and winning this fight. What can they do, though? It's all the odds are stacked against them, considering INF is holding the edge lines. But I guess the zone's going to take care of them.
Finally done and dusted. It was a lot of damage from the opposition. The players were knocked out, and yes, I believe it was the zone that helped the finishes getting confirmed. Wait, what? What just happened right here? I thought I saw 3 players. They just vanished. It's a vanishing act. With the help of RIP Mizo, they've racked up 5 eliminations on the board, and look at how chaotic this game has gotten all of a sudden. We reached stage 5, there were still 13 or 14 teams remaining inside the game. We reached stage 6, we're down to 9 teams, but still 30 players alive. And this circle itself, it has taken us to the eastern side of Milta. just northeast of Milta. There's a massive hill. That is where these teams are fighting each other for utter control of this zone. RP Mizu right now in a wonderful position towards that northwestern edge. Then you have another squad of RS holding on to the western edge itself. In the meanwhile, Team Aiku Seoul, northeastern edge of the circle. There's no one towards the northeastern edge because Aiku Seoul is trying to gatekeep everyone else from the hilltop to the bottom of this hill. They are standing in the middle and they're taking fights on either directions.
Aiku Seoul just collecting some freebies that are lying across the board, but Aiku Seoul unfortunately taking a bit of a damage upon themselves. Ronnie knocked out. Manya's in the back lines to provide that cover fire, and if you remember, Johnny, even Manya has been sort of like the elimination leaders for this team recently. Aiku Seoul, every single player now just looking for to regroup with each other. S-Power's going to be the man to lead the pack this time. Considering Manya's in the back lines providing the cover fire. BH, they made a big blunder as Mystery's going to be the last man left alive, and Mystery just needs to make sure that his position's going to be Mystery.
Well, and now finally BH, they might have bitten off more than they can chew. Mystery, as you mentioned, the only mission for them right now is to protect his presence, hide and secure those placement points one way or the other. But Aiku Seoul, in the midst of the chaos, Ronnie is going to fall. Knuckle, S-Power, Manya still there. A revive needs to happen. Luckily for Ronnie, his teammates were right next to him. So it's going to be a quick revive given to Ronnie by Knuckle. S-Power in the back line, strike, protect his team, provide some suppressing fire. But RIP Mizo, with that high ground advantage of theirs, can actually create a big opening in this fight if they deny Team Seoul the entry over the ridge.
It indeed can. All the four players playing on the edges of the zone, and then you've got Mystery on the left lines. His position is a mystery for now, is anonymous. He's unknown. It's out of the lobby. And as long as he's keeping it that way, it's all good in the hood for that man. He should be able to squeeze some placement points away, but still, you've got 6 teams to duke it out against. It will be a tough one to get a decent position in your hand. Before Aiku Seoul, they've got every single player up and alive, and as I mentioned, Aiku Seoul is just at the top collecting freebies. They get another one on their hands. There's another team right next to them in the name of RIP Mizoram. It's going to be tough to deal with them, but hey, it is what it is. Seoul, it's going to be an uphill battle for Team Seoul to face off against RIP Mizoram, but let's see how that one unfolds in front of us. As CB for now, they're being chipped up by the players of Aiku Seoul. Another knockout found. Still 2 of the players are surviving though.
Still 2 players surviving as you mentioned, but CB, they've taken a massive hit as you mentioned. And this push to the ridge, it might be a massive risk to cause a distraction, looking to draw attention from the backlines, but Vampire, even he hits the deck. What a precise spray over there. Miss Power and his teammates, everyone just committed on the same position. They're focus firing every single team that they see, not really getting split up amongst the decision making of who they want to take down. Even they're forced to take an exit, and all of a sudden we see Aiku Seoul sitting there in the top 2 with 14 eliminations to their name, the only team that is standing between them and the victory and the chicken dinner of this first game is RIP Mizo with 3 players still alive.
Even they've got 9 elimination points on the board. Aiku Seoul, of course, the domination just answering. There's a chance that they will be the one to secure this chicken dinner, considering they're also controlling the majority of the zone too, while RIP Mizoram is just being forced in a corner. They do have a solid cover to play with. Before how long they can play with that cover, they will need to leave that cover, move inside of the zone, and that's what they're doing slowly and steadily. Flick YT, at least one of the players from RIP Mizoram needs to find the opening knockout. If they're not able to do so, things will be going downhill for them. As I mentioned before, now the fight is still on the equal pages. Considering there is a man disadvantage on the side of RP Mizoram, they will need to find at least one knockout. They're utilizing the smokes to provide that extra bit of cover, but Manya in the front lines, he's just driving through. Aiku Seoul to make the push happen. Manya falls down, but S-Power's got things under control. He gets another knockout on the front lines. S-Power shut down as well to return, and now it's going to be a 2v1 scenario. Knuckle just trying to breach in as well, but no, scratch that. It's actually 1v1, and Knuckle shut down too. What? It's RIP Mizoram to close things off and steal that chicken dinner away from Aiku Seoul.
And what a win as well, beating the best team in the lobby right now, RIP Mizo, proving why they are hailed as, well, why they have a big fan base in their own region, to be honest. And of course, wonderful gameplay. They were quite patient holding on to that watchtower. They held everything. And
overtal pa dagre.
Not really a range for a shotgun to work. That was too much distance right there. I think that was one of the reasons why Knuckle lost that duel. But I mean,
10
Iko, you can't really praise them enough. They
13
have
plus
racked up a lot
10
of
points,
eliminations
13 plus
from
9,
this match. I believe 40 from 15
23.
eliminations
I'm gonna
total,
7
and
plus
RIP Mizo
14.
as well, I think, ended this game with
7,
12 or 13
14,
eliminations. So both these
15,
teams, I mean,
16,
ended up
14,
dominating
15,
half
16,
the
17,
lobby.
18, 19,
Just two teams.
19, 21, 21,
Exactly.
22,
I think
23,
Snuckle just
23.
miscalculated the distance between him and the
10 man
opponent.
hela. RP Mizo na point ali
Yeah,
hela.
unfortunately, IQ Soul not being able to get that finishing blow in the end, but RIP Mizoram making a stark statement, taking down one of the best team that the Indian region has to offer. Now, RIP Mizoram, all eyes are going to be stacked up on them, and it was just not any other chicken dinner. They had a lot of elimination points to back it up as well. The same thing can be said for IQ Soul. Even though they lost that previous game, still, it's all okay for them. They had 15 elimination points to back him up. 15 elimination point, you combine that with decent amount of placement points, IQ Soul still pretty okay in the overall standings.
Yeah, I think that both these teams are going to be okay in the overall standings. I mean, you have crossed that 20-point marker already, and as we have been discussing since day one, it feels like once you are close to 30 points, you are done for the day, and I think half the job is already done for both of these two lineups. So I think they can take a backseat if... Not really, they won't take a backseat, I know for sure. They're going to go all in Miramar, and then in Sanam they will take a backseat. But for the other teams, I mean, we expected a lot from UP50, we expected a lot from Medal, and Medal had such a commanding position up until the mid-game stages, but I think unfortunately they just held themselves back a little too long, and that created that bottlenecked their rotation pretty badly. There were a lot of teams that were waiting for them on the other side, and Medal, they were just not able to keep up with the pace that shifted of the game all of a sudden. Stage 5 from no aggression, everyone was just all in.
This has been one of the problems with Medal Esports. Recently, their form has been lost. They've been feeling out of touch, and if you remember, even not just this tournament, not just in 2023, even if you try to keep track of the third-party tournaments that keep on happening, Medal Esports, they've been struggling. Their stats have been pretty rough. Hopefully, we are going to be seeing them be back inside of that group, being back inside of the form, because it's now or never.
Yeah.
If you're not going to be back in the form now, you will be missing a chance to qualify inside of the official tournament. All you need to do is just place yourself in the top 64, and Medal Esports is one of the renowned orgs inside of the country. You really expect great things from such an org. So let's hope that they will be able to be there inside the top 64, considering they still do have a chance to do so.
Exactly, it's not just the orgs, even the players that Medal has are some of the best players that we have seen in the past as well, and these lads, they have a legacy behind them. Unfortunately, they're still behind them. They're not building a legacy forward anymore, and I think that needs to start with this grind. But let's talk about the man who has built a legacy in this first game, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about the MVP of this match one. Who do you think it's going to be, Necro? Take a guess. Take a wild guess.
Probably it's going to be someone from IQ Soul. Has to be S-Power, considering he had a lot of elimination points. Or it has to be someone from IQ Soul. I did not exactly know who was that individual, but I saw one man getting more than 5 elimination points in his hands. But I guess it's going to be Medal Esports' Sayam getting 100% finish contribution for his team. He was the only one to get the elimination points from Medal Esports with the map impact of 13% and 7 total finishes. That means Medal Esports, they've got their hands on 7 points in total. I guess that's not bad outing for the first game. You can still try to improvise a little bit more on Miramar.
It's not a bad outing, but then again, Necro, it is Medal Esports. Are you satisfied with seeing just one player on 7 eliminations and the other 3 players having done, I don't know what, inside of this match? So I think, again, Medal Esports, we expect this, but from everyone. They have some of the best mechanically gifted players in this region. So, again, hopefully, as you mentioned, maybe in Miramar we're going to see them bounce back, but in terms of top performers of the previous game, we have Flick YT from RIP Mesa, who shows up with 6 eliminations, 46% finish contribution for his team, 11% map impact. Then there's S-Power from IQ Soul, 5 finishes, 35% finish contribution for his team. You have Sarkar from UP50, who has definitely been quite a big reason that UP50 are always there at the forefront of majority of the tournaments. 5 eliminations for Sarkar as well. And then we have the IGL of IQ Soul, Manya himself, with 4 eliminations, which is 28% finish contribution for his team.
That's just IQ Soul for you. The fact that UP50 is also over here on the board also gives me a little bit of sigh of relief that finally UP50 is also trying their best to make some waves. 7 points in total, UP50, that's what they've got. Metal Esports getting 8 points in total, not that bad of a start. Of course, it's understandable. Metal Esports is one of the top tier orgs, and you really expect the best from them. But hey, I guess just look at the brighter side of things. Cannonbolts getting 8 points too. IQ Soul getting 20. And of course, RIP Mizo, considering they got the chicken dinner, they will be at the top, leading the point standings. Orglis 5, considering they were in such a dicey situation, still getting 6 points is okay. Rising Star Officials getting 5. Team Bola getting 4. But then moving on forward towards the latter half of the board, where teams have struggled too much.
Yeah, this was a very big letdown seeing Celsius
in this
game. Again, in terms of the big names, Celsius is the only team that is yet to perform. They have 2 more matches to go, and hopefully we're going to see them bounce back in this leaderboard. Element X as well. I mean, just 1 finish, no placement points at all. I think we expect a little bit more from them. But I am very excited seeing the first half of the leaderboard. You have 2 teams that have crossed 20-point marker, and everyone else is just sitting there with single digits. So the competition is still pretty close. And if RIP Mizo and Aiku Soul are equally consistent in the upcoming match, then this will lead to one of the most intense overall leaderboards for the group at the end of game 2. And you never know what's going to happen in game 3. Someone is going to bounce back for sure. That's the only thing that's guaranteed.
I mean, expectations were there also from Last Hope. Unfortunately, them not being able to follow up is another big of a problem. Let's hope, though, as you mentioned, in the upcoming game of Miramar, things could definitely be like a new hope for a lot of these teams, especially the teams on the latter half of the board. There are a decent amount of teams that we thought might be able to perform a little bit better, including Element X as well. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen, you guys might be sitting back at your homes watching these teams play, and sometimes you might feel like, okay, even I want to be there on the big stage. Even I want to play. Even I want to make a team. Well, if you've got 4 players complete, go on this link right now. Register now on CraftIndiaEsports.com, because today is the last day for you to register your team. So make sure you've got 4 players in the squad and register on this website.
Exactly. It's very important, as you mentioned. The deadline is right there as well. 11:59 p.m. tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So be quick about it. We have a lot more to discuss about this game as well. And as we move forward, Necro, I mean, I think our favorites from this particular group are definitely going to change. RIP Mizo up there with the like
on this website.
Exactly. It's very important, as you mentioned. The deadline is right there as well. 11:59 p.m. tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So be quick about it. We have a lot more to discuss about this game as well. And as we move the hills, looking for teams to eliminate, and RIP Mizo just stood there for a long time in the watchtower, just waiting for everyone else to show up. When they eventually did, which was the end game scenario, that is where they racked up majority of the finishes. So an incredible start to their day. But now, can they keep the ball rolling in the next 2 maps? For the first time, I want to see a team dominate in all 3 maps. I don't know if that's going to happen, but ladies and gentlemen, what is going to happen right now is that we will see an amazing promo for the new upcoming X suit that is there for you guys. Necro wants it, I want it, you guys will want it too. Have a look.
PT มาแล้วนี่คือแบบพาส
The cinematics that Craft in India comes up with, it just makes you buy, or at least it just makes you want that X suit in your inventory. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen, I will of course try and get that X suit in my inventory, and I think so you guys should also do the same as well, considering it looks super amazing. But you know what, Johnny, getting back inside the conversation that we're having, and now considering that RIP Mizo was able to overall start things off on a great note, that's always going to give them better momentum, and I guess you need to keep on consistently moving on with that momentum, considering, yes, you will still be having 3 games after 2 weeks, but it's better to just complete that margin in these 3 games itself.
Exactly. I mean, you have to set yourself up for success. Do not leave anything for later. But ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are wondering when the players, the people, if you have registered in fact for the BGIS, when do you think you're going to get to compete? Well, the qualifiers start from the 15th of April. So mark the date in your calendars, ladies and gentlemen. That is when your moment will come for you to showcase what you've built of, how much you have practiced, and of course, to compete with your squad in the biggest grassroots tournament in Indian esports. Not just BGMI, Indian esports, I'm saying. And it is going to be a wonderful opportunity. We've seen some of the biggest stars being brought, as I said, to the forefront of the gaming scene in this country through BGIS itself, and you could be the next ones in line. Not even in the line, in the registration form right now. You're filling your form. I know it. I know you're doing it. Do it.
And not just that, we've also heard that there's a lot of teams, there's a lot of people just registering their squads with just a 3-man. Well, all you need is one more person. Complete your squad. What are you waiting for? 11:59 p.m. That's going to be the deadline. And after 11:59, the site's going to be shut down. The registrations are not going to be there.
Yeah.
You will lose out on the chance. So complete your squad. Just don't keep the squad with the 3-man. Complete your squad. You need 4 players in the squad for you to register successfully. So go on craftingindiaesports.com and register it right now.
And again, once again, 15th of April to the 21st of April. Mark that date after you're done registering. Mark these dates in your calendar, and that is when you will be going through your in-game qualifiers, ladies and gentlemen. But let's move forward. We have the next map coming up soon, Nekra. We have Miramar coming up soon. RIP means they've set themselves up for success. IQ Soul, they've set themselves up for success. UP50 have put in a little bit of work, and Medal Esports have put in a little bit of work as well. These are the top contenders we are talking about with just single-digit points because they weren't really able to survive to the late game stages of this match. But apart from them, we saw a lot of interesting plays being made. First of all, OG, them stuck in prison. I failed to notice how they actually got out because it was such an awkward position. You have 2 teams holding either sides of the hill, and then you're stuck in the building in the middle. So that was quite brilliant because they were able to escape with all 4 of their plays. And then, of course, August 5, that strategy of playing so late, and yet I believe they were able to survive for a long time inside of the game. But the map changes, and along with the change of the map, your strategies are going to change as well. Ladies and gentlemen, here are the 16 teams once again on our screens. And as we mentioned, next map, it is Miramar.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Johnny, I was actually waiting for a warm welcome, but never mind, Johnny. Sometimes you usually push me onto the desk, sometimes you push me off the desk. It has become a habit of yours. That's fine. That's okay. I'm gonna digest that pill with a little bit of a sadness in my heart, but let's just talk about the map of Miramar for now. And again, a great start from both IQ Soul as well as RIP Mizo. The game was ecstatic, but certainly a lot of questions in mind, considering Medal Esports, considering Celsius Esports as well, because these are some very big names inside of this competition, especially today. And I was expecting these teams to kind of really showcase what they've truly got, especially Celsius Esports. If you remember this lineup who used to play in BGIS 2023, from the tag of Blood Esports, I thought that they had much more in their kitty.
Exactly, and just a second, Salty. Wait, you got to move a little bit to the other side. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Now we are sitting properly, ladies and gentlemen. But it is going to be interesting, as you said. I mean, a lot of expectations from Celsius definitely are going to be there, and hopefully they can deliver. The last game, it was a little bit unfortunate for them because you did not expect so many teams, I think 14 or 15 teams to be surviving till stage 5 of the game. And again, me and Necro were also quite surprised by this because as the game began, all right, first few stages, it is going to be passive. I think everyone learned their lesson from watching the teams on day 1 and day 2. But now, on this last day, especially with one of the most aggressive lineups in the country being present in this team, it was extremely weird. But ladies and gentlemen, talking about things that are weird, definitely Knuckle, the way he shoots at his opposition is something that surprises and catches everyone off guard. Here's a player spotlight from BGIS 2023. 78 finishes secured by the man. 31.4% finish contribution in 33 games that he has played.
I mean, that's literally higher than my KD ratio from classic games, Johnny. This is insane statistics, especially when you consider that this is a pro lobby. This is the toughest lobby that the country has to offer. And of course,
Blind
Knuckle has been always that consistent fragger, just being right behind the lines of either S-Power or Joker, who is actually playing in the front lines. He's that one guy you can always depend upon. He never really misses a shot. Has become one of the undeniable duos with Ronnie as well. I love watching this guy plays because the kind of X factor that he brings on board is amazing. But you know what? We've already talked about the entire team, the entire country knows about what X-Blind or current Aiku, Soul, Nakul, or the rest of the players have actually come across. But I was actually very surprised. One of the breakout players of BGIS 2023, I'm specifically talking about Kyoya. I was expecting a lot more from him because this time around, saw that Siam was, with 7 finishes, had 100% finish contribution. I wondered where were the rest of the players, especially since this lineup is so stacked up.
I think Metal also did not have an idea of how aggressive this game was going to turn out because they had a brilliant position to work with just towards the east of Milta, and they were holding on to a pretty strong compound as well. But they were expecting that the other teams would drop bodies a little bit quicker. It did not happen, and as soon as Metal tried to escape, that late exit from that compound is what got them. What got them the bad finish in this game. But anyways, I mean, there's still a possibility for them to secure this map of Miramar and write their name all over it when the game is done and dusted. But ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Game number 2 for Group 7. We have the plane that's taken off over the map of Miramar. And again, the flight path leading heavily towards the southern and, in fact, in particular, the southwestern quadrant of the map.
Southwestern quadrant, which does definitely mean that one team is going to be exceptionally happy. That will be Team Aiku Soul. But you know what, Johnny? I think we've got this game, and considering that we've seen the performances, there is one team that I'm specifically looking out for, and that has to be UP50. Because you remember from BGS 2023, they were so exceptionally brilliant on this map, especially KSR and Sarkar. But for you, who is that one team that you're watching out for on this map of Miramar?
I think it has to be Metal, I think, for me. Metal, again, I'm a little bit let down with what happened on that map of Erangel. I want to see what's the strategy for this team this time around, because even in the last BGIS, they did quite well for themselves as far as the group stage were considered. But then once we eventually made it to the finals, it wasn't really where they were hoping to be. Everyone wants to be able to lift the trophy and medal. They tried the level best, but it wasn't enough. The other teams were just a smidge better than them. And this time, I think they should be motivated that we are not going to let the win, the trophy, the glory slip out of our hands, just like the last time. But let's see. Interesting developments in Miramar in front of our eyes. We have a little bit of a 4-team gliding competition happening. And I think they are looking to go towards Graveyard Minas Generalis, because that is where you will find those vehicles.
Yeah, for sure. But will they take a collision? That's a question, because have a look at this. UP50, they've dropped right on towards Picardo, and nobody's competing with them. As of now, on the other side, Team CB, they've just spotted RS in the backdrop, and it seems like the initial weapons have been picked up, and they're charging towards them, but it seems also like they're prepared for a counter. CB had to change up their mind, but coming back to the conversation of Metal Esports and BGIS 2023, Johnny, I think, it was the factor of the curse. Teams in semi-final ending up at the #1 position. They never really do well in the Indian circuit when it actually comes to the grand finals. I mean, they did well. They entered top 5, but it is the semi-final curse. You can never really break it.
Exactly. It is the curse of the semi-finals. It's very difficult to break it, but let's see what happens. Maybe this time, if that curse is broken, I think it might make the other teams a little bit hopeful that they can break their curses as well. But talk about the biggest curse that is being spotted out by the players of Aiku Soul, because once they see you, they start chasing you, and there's nowhere left to run after that. Look at that, sitting all of them. Knuckle is left behind, the other 3 players just sitting in that Bentley, and they're out on a hunt, looking to pick off one-night fighters.
This is going to be interesting. I mean, Arrow definitely has that visual. I possibly thought that AKM could have done some damage, but what is happening over here? Auglis and Celsius Rixon. These 2 players, look at that. Oh, is he playing his opposition? There is no weaponry on the other man. Do some mercy on him. Possibly take him on a fist fight. John, would you do that? If your opposition had no weapons, would you shoot at him?
No.
I don't know. Depends. What is on the line? If there's 2 crore rupees on the line, then of course I'm going to shoot him right in the middle of the eyes. If there is nothing on the line, if it is just for fun, then no.
I get it, Johnny. We all want that big chunk of the prize pool, but I don't really think we're eligible. Unless and until you guys want to be eligible, you can go and register. You still have got approximately a couple of hours left. Johnny, you mentioned the time, 11:59 p.m. Today is the deadline for registration, of course. And there are so many teams that we just got information that have just registered with 3 or 2 players. You've got to complete that playing 4 so that you can compete. And also, one interesting fact that I got to know is that you cannot really play the in-game qualifiers with your substitute players. You always have to have the 4 first team players.
Can only hide the profile under verification nila.
Exactly. And it will be important to see how
Well, 5 games sheep.
how those matches do go for the in-game qualifiers as well. Again, ladies and gentlemen, the in-game qualifiers begin on the 15th of April.
Okay.
So make sure, again, as I said, you mark that date in your calendars and you're prepared with your team. You've practiced enough. And we are quite excited to see you once you are there in the finals eventually. And we are going to be there hopefully as well. But one thing we noticed, I think it was one of the players from the side of August 5 who's just completely unarmed. He's just thrown down in a shack somewhere. And I wonder if he will ever be able to escape from that position. There was another squad just out on the hunt in a surrounding vicinity. As we on our screens, there's a team up close as we can see them on the radar. I think it is the squad of Last Hope Esport.
It's Senji, Johnny.
Is it Senji?
Senji Esports. Yeah. SB is basically Zenji Esports.
No, Zenji is on our screens. There's Last Hope right there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I thought that you were referring to SB as a team tag. I was really confused when I saw that. Like, they have team tag SB, but then they're known as Zenji. But it's fine. I guess it's the creativity of the players which is coming through. But Last Hope, I'm not really sure. Have they spotted Genji?
I think they might have, because that was quite an exposed way to peek over there. And everyone's checking the ridges like all the time on Miramar, but what's happening here? CB, Mega Mind needs to be Mega Mind. Checks the compound.
Mega Mind needs to be Mega Mind.
Right way to execute that play. Still in the looting phase, I guess, but needs to be careful. There's a team waiting for them on the other side, and if Mega Mind doesn't really have any information to work with, this can turn out to be a brutal fight for their favor. But Nate from the flag does manage to spot out the opposition, and they are looking to take things off by taking on the players of RS in front of them.
Exactly, Cannonballs. This is another team that has actually been inside of BGIS previously. Did not definitely go deep inside the tournament, could not reach the semi-finals, but we did get to see some amazing players from them, and the lineup has stayed the same. So I'm really interested to see if the team can definitely put up a good show. But for now, I think Akshay is just way too close for comfort. He's way too close to the enemy lines, and now look at them. CB just charging in, gets the first knock. This is the start of a warfare, and I think Team Rising Stars, they certainly have a big advantage in this fight, Johnny.
Well, they have an advantage to work with, but it's still not going to be easy to take on any of these teams right now. But let's see. CB not looking to back off. That weaponry that they have, it's definitely going to be quite brutal for RS to deal with. First player knocked. There's the finish being confirmed.
Not confirmed,
bro.
bro.
There's no one protecting him.
Because
He's
they'll
quite
have to
far
run
away
for
from the
their
rest of
ass.
the team, so there's no backup coming from him.
They have to run the rest off.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I kind of felt that the flank would be very useful initially. Thought that there could be some sort of a cover fire, especially for Akshay when he was being pushed upon from. But Jadu kind of decided that he does not want to reveal his position. So instead, Team RS, Rising Star officials, they're going to fall back and let Cannonballs just have the entirety of this territory. On the other side, we have a fight, the fight that we were waiting for. It's gonna be Zenji versus Last of Esports, and look at this, two players just climbing onto him, but he still manages to survive, and he gets a 1v2 done, but finally gets traded off by the third player. Last Hope, where are the rest of your comrades? You need to support him.
Well, they are a little bit too late to the party. And by the time they arrive, Wizard is going to be back on his feet. Although, Mr. Cute, there's no ammunition in that AK Salty. There's nothing in there. He has 277 rounds available for that M16, but, I mean, burst or a tap, no auto. That's going to be tough. Can we get distance? What is happening? What is happening to Haiku Soul? I believe S-Power, something has just gone ahead and upset him. He's knocked down two of his own teammates. And Prime from Element
no
X.
clue.
I have no clue, eh?
Plus 2 knocks from the opposition.
Masaya yung team eh, di
There's
mo
Element X, I mean, certainly a
what
big
he
advantage in
had
this fight. Two players knocked down. Still trying to play around that little bit of a fence, and what a beautiful shot from the DBS. Three players knocked down now, huge advantage in this fight, and I'm pretty sure Celsius is slowly breaking down. Johnny, if you remember correctly, this team, these three players, Pekka, Harshu, Rixen, they were one of our favorite players. We would love to commentate their style of play.
Yeah.
So experienced, so aggressive, but now it seems like they're breaking down like a house of cards. Pekka, of course, has been a massive character in the esports circuit. Has been playing for a long time, has been knocking on the doors of Tier 1 BGMI, but could never really make it. But this BGIS 2024 certainly can be his moment to shine, but for that he needs his teammates to back him up. Landing quite far away. Yeah, that was too far for him to actually land the nade, you know.
But if he connects it in the balcony perfectly, it's going to be so awesome. Though, I mean, to be honest, yeah, it is a little too much to ask for, especially from that distance. They've laid out a nice little wall of smoke. I think Element X are thinking of using that to push towards Pekka. Okay, in the meanwhile, just sitting still in the balcony, does not want to give another opportunity to the opposition to secure that one extra point. And Celsius, they're not having a good day at all today, Salty.
Yeah, absolutely. Even in the first game, they get dismantled. Even in this one as well. I'm not really sure what's going wrong, but these initial fights, if you remember correctly, these players were pioneers when it actually came to initial fights. They would always go for initial fights. I still remember the drop location on the map of Erangel was cool. And the only team who managed to beat them was Team Blind back in those days. Let's just have a look at the replay for now. We've got Celsius, who did try to barge in, but all three players taking individual duels. Again, fundamental errors, and Prime just punished them one by one. Who is talking about a DBS nerf? It never got nerfed. It's just a myth, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, Pekka is about to be nerfed in front of our eyes right now. Has the DBS to work with. In close quarters, definitely can make it work, but Element X, they are being extremely cautious. It's that utility play that can help them win this fight without breaking a sweat, and that is what they want to go for. In the meanwhile, a few moments ago, we did get a glimpse of the map itself. And again, a massive cluster of teams holding close to the center of the zone. Element X going for the push. Pekka with the first shot is going to drop the key fragger for the team. Prime taken out of the picture. A brilliant angle found as well. Extra damage dished out. He has no utility to work with, but realize the players on the other side are going to be extremely low. And there's a Molotov waiting for them. A brilliant play turns into a disaster as he's taken unnecessary damage now in this fight.
Did manage to heal himself up though. The first hit has been popped. Another shot with the DBS, and now he's knocked out another player. I love how patient this man is. Pekka, definitely he's been a talking point for a while, ever since he started playing. Everyone loves him. Every single one of the Hindi talents love him as well. I just want to see him perform. If he pulls off this clutch, it will be monumental. No? But it will be monumental because it is so impossible. All four players from Team Element X just waiting to pounce on this last finish. And I love the patience on this guy, just waiting for the other team to make a mistake. One time or the other, the utility is gonna finish. The utility is gonna extinguish. What are you gonna do then, Element X?
We can't really do much. In a situation like this as well, either they can just completely abandon Pekka, let him be, or they can just commit everything and risk getting taken out by the DBS. Another nade committed by Ajax. Still quite hesitant. Even though it is a 1v4,
Nice.
they are still hesitant to go for the push. Look at Salman. He's gone off to the flank, but Pekka on the other side has secured 2 knocks now. From a 1v4, the man has brought it down to a 1v2, jumps through the stairs, down to the ground floor, picks up one more. He is split by the stairs, tried his level best, but somehow the man who shows up and opens the door, along with that opening door, Pekka. Go for him in this
knock to finish daw dabida. Amtag toro magan kakalamadi ko.
satisfied with just one finish in the early stage of the game. But what an amazing play by Pekka and of course Element X. They tried the level best again. Losing one player in a situation like that, can't really say much about it, but the trade is in their favor. They got 4 points, the opposing team gets 1.
Absolutely, but valiant effort from Pekka on the other side. I think credit has to be given to him. He needs some support from Rickson. He needs some support from Harsh as well. They're great players themselves, and I'm hoping that Celsius Esports find their footing on the map of Sandhawk. But for now, Element X, they surely are going to celebrate. Possibly they had a minor heart attack when the 2 knocks were there. And I understood what Pekka was trying to do, just ride on that momentum and just play with the opposition's mind, trying to push up as soon as the knocks were confirmed. But that's all he could do over there. Salman's position was unchecked, opened the door, barged into the compound at the right time, and found that opening. But have a look at this. Where does the circle take us to? It takes us to Montenuevo, one of my favorite places on this map. And Team IQ Soul, what a brilliant rotation. Will find majority of the circle for themselves. Might even find Montenuevo, the compounds of Montenuevo, to themselves. But I doubt Mania is going to take that.
Not just them, not just Aiku. So look at RRP Mizo. They've been holding on to that hilltop for a long time now. I believe I've been seeing them there for the last 5 minutes minimum. And this happened in the previous game as well. They found a position, they held on to that position till the end game situation. And towards the end game, when all of that chaos was coming to its peak, that is when they stepped out, started shooting in every single direction, racked up a lot of finishes. And I think that might be their strategy in this game as well, especially Flick YT. He was the top performer for the team in the last game. This time, he has a massive high ground advantage to work with an mini 14 and that 8x combo. That can be quite deadly from that hilltop. But here's a replay, ladies and gentlemen. Celsius versus Element X. And Pekka definitely caused a lot of frustration for the players of Celsius, but towards the end it was a 1v4 in which no matter how hard Pekka tried, as Salty, you said it right, we might hope for it, but it is close to impossible altogether in a 1v4.
Exactly, and that is one of the reasons why those moments become memorable, those moments become historic if you actually pull off a 1v4. It's fine. I'm pretty sure Celsius Esports will learn from their mistakes. Will have to work on that aggression yet again. Don't really want to talk about what's done and dusted much for now. We're going to move on to Metal Esports, and let's just talk about how this team struggled in the last game and what they can fix. Encore and Paradox, these 2 players, they're possibly the most experienced players in the current Tier 1 circuit right now. They've played multiple LANs, they've played for years and years, and I was hoping that that experience, along with the aggression of Kyoya, Dark Lord, as well as Siam, is going to bring them great rewards, possibly similar to what maybe one of the best teams, IQ Soul or possibly Team Insane, have been able to produce recently. But in the other tournaments that have been going on, Metal Esports, they've been a very shy version of themselves so far. And I want to know from you, what do you think is going wrong? Are the players not really confident? Are the players not in form? Have you noticed anything, Johnny?
To be honest, I think the lack of confidence is there, but that's what surprises me, right? With a team like Metal, that never should be the case. You have Paradox, Encore, veterans of Battle Royale in this country, and then, of course, Kyoya has been firing on all cylinders now. So it is interesting to see Metal take this dip in their performance, but I just hope they are able to recover as quickly as possible. On the other side, OG Mohit, just one way to go, just backs off, drives in reverse, goes to the bridge. Like, I do not want to be a part of this fiasco. RS on one side, you have one more team quite close to them, which is the squad of CB. And OG, they have just taken a backseat. They're like, all right, guys, you fight it out. Whoever's left, we'll take on them. All right, Akela OP is, in fact, very Akela. He's the solo man on that open field, and he's going to be put down by God from the side of OG.
I mean, a flank not really working out. Once again, a very trivial mistake. But for Rising Star officials, they don't really have any option of getting him back. He is being ambushed from the other side. Oh, no, wait! The finish has been stolen by Team CB. Cannonballs is opting for that opportunity. And now Team OG, they will be very paranoid about this. They will be very angry. But will that anger turn into another squad wipe is the question. Of course, the DBS is in hand of Megamind, hoping to stop down Mohit dead in his tracks. They are still holding the edge lines of the circle, will force Team OG to try and push up onto them. But will this gatekeeping scenario be fruitful? On the other side, the circle has taken a massive northern shift. And like I said, Team IQ Soul once again at the dead center. And Element Dex, surprisingly, they've actually found a good footing.
Oh, they might have found a good footing, but same cannot be said for the side of RS. They lost 2 players in the early stages of the match. Now Varu and Jadu are all that remain. And both of them trying to take this fight against the players of OG, but they have to be aware about the distraction. Not the distraction, but the off-play that could come in at any time from the players of the CB squad. And of course, these 2 individuals, they're out in the open, so that means no replenishment of ammunition, of throwable, of health healing utility. So they have to be extremely careful with what their approach is for the mid-game. But OG, what is this? They're pushing on the players of Last Hope, Wizard and Rini. It's going to be a 2v4 for them.
Great scouting mission by OG, to be honest. Just understanding where exactly the players of Last Hope were, finding out this patrol bump. It's going to help them for sure, but this can only be a mid-rotation pit stop. They still have to traverse 550 meters more, but the circle has just formed, so they can take a breather, certainly. On the other side, Team Zen G, of course, just trying to maneuver through the map. They've been shut down immediately by Team RIP Mizoram. RIP Mizo, pardon me for that. They certainly have had a very good start to the competition. Now they're carrying on to that momentum. 3 finishes for them, and they're scrambling for more. And the best part is, Johnny, they're playing along the lines of the blue circle, which means they never really have to worry about their backstab. They only have to clear their front lines and just push forward, just by a bare minimum.
Exactly, and it's not going to be too tough for them, but this time around, RIP Mizo, as you mentioned, looking to hold on to that momentum. They've gotten 3 early finishes in this game. They're going to look for a few more. And again, the top of the leaderboard for them is already secured. Pretty much after that amazing run on Erangel, from here on out, I think anything that they do, it's going to be for those bonus points that keep them in play for the top 16 in the overall rankings at the end of week 2.
Never really know, Johnny. You never really know. We have seen some massive drop-offs as well. And I'm hoping something like that does not happen. I'm also hoping some comebacks from UP50 as well, because this is their map. KSR and Sarkar, this is their home turf. I've seen them outshine competition left, right and center. Haven't really seen them on the screen so far, but they're making healthy rotations. Even ASG, as a matter of fact, we saw them last season. They were doing pretty good, but for now, let's just focus on this fight. Team Metal Esports engaged in battle against Execute Esports. In fact, they've just extinguished them with a nade itself. Pretty healthy, pretty strong, 4-man surviving. Now, I think there's another team that's chasing them so far. I think this is going to be a task for them to cut them out.
It's definitely going to be quite a big task for them, but these are the situations where we expect teams like Metal to not drop the ball. What a nade! Serious? Are you serious indeed? A 2-pointer coming in, and this one might have just helped them secure those points, but does not matter. He's going to fall back. Knows no one is left standing in that position behind the shack. Wait, was the point taken? No,
Yes.
It did go into the hands of CEB. Had those 2 points gone into another team's bank, then maybe they might have been upset. And OG, they're going to be upset about that 2-2 split idea that they had. Because now God and Mohit are down there surviving with half HP bars on both these players. And they do not have a lot of healing utility available anymore as well. God, in fact, is out of everything. Maybe just few bandages remaining upon him, and shots coming in from the flank. HP down to nothing again, and he's gonna get knocked out. Mohit, he's the last man left standing for the side of OG. Can he survive? It's gonna be extremely difficult because his position, it is compromised as well.
Certainly is compromised. On the other side, have a look at this. Metal Esports. Are they playing a very wild split? Yes, they are. Kyoya has actually found a position inside the circle. He's the only one who is from this team inside the circle, while the rest of the players, they're still clearing the edge lines. Now, I like this split, Johnny. I especially like this split because in case if ASG or Infinity, they do tend to barge in, Siam and his comrade are more than prepared to actually shut them down. But it seems like Siam as well is moving on that rotation. Paradox also on the hunt. ASG, meanwhile, will have to clean up Beast from Team INF before they can proceed towards the circle as well. It's going to be a task. Everyone is trying to adjust. Everyone is trying to adjust to find their way inside the circle, but it's so much in the open, Johnny, and there's a huge highway that just divides the circle into two halves.
Yeah, but it's not as stressful as the previous matchup. We are in the fifth stage of the game. 10 teams, 30 players still surviving. UP50 were put under heavy fire by the players of B-Edge, but they have backed off because there was damage coming in from the other side of the road upon them as well. Element X just holding on to those compounds, and UP50, they're stuck out in the open. There's only one possibility for them. Use the ridges, use the smokes, create some soft cover, deny the line of vision, and then survive in the endgame stages. But BH, they want to go for a push. Anonymous with the backline flank should be able to secure this pick. Nice. And there's the finish on the board. 3 eliminations, 3 points secured by UP50. Looking to move forward in this game. RIP though. Look at RIP Mizo on the radar. They have one player sitting smack in the center of the circle. What an amazing prediction from Nirvana. I thought that was a mistake. I thought he was going to get finished off, but no. That drop gets him the MG3 as well. The team in with 2 faces.
Yeah, for sure. But on the other side, Johnny, Team Metal Esports have been shut down. It's one rotation that has been cut off by IQ Soul. I'm not really sure if the vehicle was burned, but those 2 players have been brought down almost instantly. And Team IQ Soul, once again, they're proceeding towards the ending circles extremely strong. They have nowhere to worry about. They certainly know where the teams are present. And for Team RIP, I'm really, really concerned because as soon as Team IQ Soul possibly make that climb onto that high ground, I think there's going to be clear visual. And there's going to be no escape. Nirvana certainly will try and survive, but how much is that buggy or that vehicle going to protect you? Ronnie will be on the hunt, Johnny.
Yeah, Ronnie is definitely going to be on the hunt, but along with Nirvana, you have to worry about Chaser as well in the backlines. He's there for a reason. His job is to make sure that in case anyone overcommits for Nirvana, he has to go for the punish. And in case Nirvana just gets finished off before he can do anything, then Chaser just stays back, plays for survival, plays for those extra placement points for the end game. In the meanwhile, Element X looking to go for a push onto UP50, and they're still out in the open. That smoke does give away their position, but UP50, they're prepared for the assault, and even IQ Soul take advantage of the fiasco, of the blunder, of the fumble from the side of Element X. Salman knocked out, shots fired from S-Power on towards Anonymous. Now UP50, even their position is compromised, and IQ Soul, they might just be putting in all this work for their competition. Nirvana, he gets run over as Manya commits finally for the fight. Point has been secured. RIP Mizo down to the last man. And I think now the game plan for RIP Mizo is clear. Go for that top 2 finish. Secure those placement points. As I said, anything they do in this game is just a bonus for them.
Absolutely. Have a look at this. Team IQ Soul in the driving seat of this competition. Chaser has been spotted. And it's S-Power who has his crosshair on him. On the other side, we saw Encore just trying to go in for a heal battle. Not really sure how long that's going to last. RIP, they're going to breathe their final breaths in this one. IQ Soul in the top 3 already. 12 eliminations. This team is actually hammering everyone down. And the only thorn in their pathway will be UP50 as of now. Certainly Encore has been finished off as well. It's Knuckle who picks up that finish. But as of now, UP50, what can they pull off? Can they pull off another upset just like RIP Mizo did in the last one?
Maybe they're going to try their level best, but the HP bars really aren't in their favor, and the zone itself is against them. IQ Soul have complete control of this endgame scenario. 13 finishes on the board already. Knuckle, he's all warmed up. Mane has been picked off, but it doesn't even matter. Two of the strongest
bum.
mechanical players
Okay.
in the country are still there. Espow and Knuckle. Anonymous, Khanna and KSR moving forward slowly and steadily, just crawling on their bellies, hoping that Aiku Soul does not see them coming. How much utility do you have left? Anonymous, just a single nade and a Molotov, gets up, starts running to try and find a way into the zone, but that was a mistake. Ronnie and Knuckle take down 2. Anonymous, the last man left standing in a 1v3, and he gets, well, blown to smithereens.
Yeah, that was a nade and a half, to be honest. I had to scream Michael Jordan over there because that was so precise. But Team IQ Soul just finally finding redemption for themselves in this one. They kind of missed out one step ahead in the map of Erangel, but not on Miramar. This team certainly, as hailed by so many people, is possibly the best team in the country right now. So consistent, so aggressive, but also so technically sound. You look at the way their fragging skills work, you look at the way their nading works in tandem with each other, but then you look at the big brains of Manya, you look at the big brains of Mayavi and Ayogi in the backlines as well. Find that little bit of a spot to always having that advantage in every single circle. It takes some skill and it takes some technical brilliance, and I think these three, the core, the minds behind this Aiku Soul, they're the ones who are running this engine.
Exactly. I mean, it has always been their firepower, combined with the fact that once they know where the zone is headed and they have information to work with, they can just brute force their way through any team. So the struggle was getting control of the circles early, and Mane, I mean, he's just a phenomenal IGL now, has already, it feels like, adapted to this lobby and how to enter those zones from any side where they find an opening. Another team that has been very impressive with their rotations in the last 2 matches that we've observed them is RIP Mizo. They're always there. I don't know how, but they're always there in the most perfect spot, and they seem to find it extremely early. I think this time around it was stage 2 or stage 2 is where they found that hilltop where Flick YT was. The other team's lads were holding behind him, and then up until stage 4 they did not have to move. Stage 4, stage 5 is when they were completely forced out of that position. And even then, I mean, they were able to secure a decent number of eliminations in this game. They were in the top 5 of this match. That is another team we are keeping an eye out for. Medal Esports, can we call it a decent recovery, Salty? They played for survival. Can we call it decent?
I think so. I mean, considering the first match performance, which was solely Siam's individual performance, I think this was a much better outing. But then for sure, for Medal Esports and their own standards that they have set last season in BGIS and further in multiple official tournaments, I think that this is not their peak. This is not what their potential tends to show us. So I'm pretty sure that there is a long climb that is going to be as well. But I'm pretty also sure that the MVP will be from Team IQ Soul this time around. I'm pretty sure you guys, you won't be wrong. You were wrong last time, right?
Yeah, we were. We were off by a lot, but not this time. It is Knuckle from IQ Soul. 6 eliminations, 10% map impact, and finished contribution of 37%. Looking at that finished contribution kind of gives us an idea of how much heavy lifting an individual had to do. And 37, I mean, it is still fine. You would ideally, in an ideal situation, hope every single player puts in that 25%. Knuckle this time definitely did have to do that heavy lifting towards the end when Manya got picked off, and it was 3 players remaining from the side of IQ Soul. But I mean, this was their game. This was their chicken dinner.
Oh.
So can't really say anything apart from that. Yeah.
Look at the top 5 performers. You've got Knuckle, you've got Ronnie, you've got Manya in the top 3, 6, 5, 4 respectively. But you've got to talk about UP50. I really like the way they kind of bounced back in this game. 3 finishes on Anonymous. Sure, they could have done a much more, but then the zone did not really let them do the talking because they were on the southern fringes and the zone kept on taking hard shifts towards the north, and UP50 were at a disadvantage, possibly from the 3rd circle onwards. But have a look at this. Even Lord from Team RIP is still there in the top 5 performers. But let's just have a look at the point standings. And this is where I think the difference has been established. RIP Mizo will have to sacrifice that lead on the overall standings to Team IQ Soul. But consistent outing, 10 points is not too shabby, Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, 10 points, it's not too shabby, especially considering in this new meta, because of the point structure, we are a little bit more focused on those finish numbers. So securing those finishes, 6 finishes on the board, that is decent. considering they did work with 4 placement points as well. So overall, a very decent run from RIP Musa, as you said. And again, these 10 points for them are just bonus. They've already crossed that 30-point marker. I think a big game from UP50 and Medal in this one. Element X as well, 7 points. That will definitely propel them a little bit high up in the rankings. But again, Celsius Esports, they were there on that second page in the last game. They're there on the second page in this game. There's a lot of struggle happening. And Salty, I want to ask you this. So I was having this conversation earlier on with Necro, and this was something that one of our colleagues, Maisie, on the Hindi desk pointed out in the morning when we were talking about the competition, that for the last 3 days, there has always been a team that bombs every group. There's always a team that will not be good. They will bomb the first 2 games. They will not play well on Erangel, not play well on Miramar. And then Sanok is that one game where they're going to bounce back and you're going to see them in the top 7, the top 6. So which team do you think is that team from this group?
Do you want me to go completely against the wind? Like, just go haywire with this pick? I think ASG Esports. I don't know, I get a vibe because I've seen them previously and I thought that this team really had what it takes to really put up the competition against the top dogs. So far, they haven't performed, so maybe, you never know.
Well, if you think, I'm not talking to Salty, I'm talking to you guys. If you think you have what it takes to take on the top tier BGMI competitors, ladies and gentlemen, guess what? Last day for registrations. When is that? It is today. Today is the last day for registration. The deadline closes at 11:59 p.m. So you guys still have a lot of hours. There's still a lot of time left. Find that 4th player. If you don't have more players, find more players. You need 4 to compete. Find those 4 players. Register your squad. And again, a reminder, the in-game qualifiers, they begin on the 15th of April. Mark that date in your calendar. And again, complete your registrations, ladies and gentlemen. I am super excited to watch you guys play once we roll around to the group stages of BGIS.
Exactly. If you have like 3 players, just possibly get your family members included. I'm pretty sure they're gonna have a lot of fun. I actually even made my dad
family members
the other day. He didn't really play that well, but it's fine. He's learning, right? And you know what? If my squad is not complete, why not just make my dad play in a tournament game? Sure, it's a new experience, and he's gonna have fun. I'm gonna have fun.
Yeah, that is why no one plays with you anymore, Salty. Gets your dad to play BGMI and then complains, he's not playing well.
See, I mean, I had to make him learn.
No wonder your name is Salty.
Oh, yeah. People usually call me sweet. That's fine. That is fine. It's not really a problem. I'm not really the one who's competing in BGIS this season, am I? They are the ones who are actually doing so they're going to have better teammates, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. It is going to get very competitive for sure. And of course, we are seeing a lot of rising stars, a lot of new talent that is shining out brightly inside of this grind as well. And of course, a lot more players waiting in queue for the BGIS itself. Again, ladies and gentlemen, deadline is today, 11:59 p.m. Go ahead and register, and we are going to be seeing what competition in fact reaches towards the BGIS from here, the grind itself. But ladies and gentlemen, there is a new game coming out from Craft, and it's called Bullet Echo. Here's a promo for that title. Let's have a look.
Action redefined, even on the go. Download Bullet Echo today.
That's just an amazing title. I mean, it's so fun, super enjoyable, quick matches. You play with your friends. It does require communication and coordination at its core, so you will have to. I mean, it gets a little competitive, I'll be honest about it, but it is fun to play this game. But ladies and gentlemen, and Salty, you know what's more fun?
The map of Sanok?
Yes, that is the right answer. The map of Sanok, ladies and gentlemen, is about to begin in a few short moments. We're going to have a look at the teams, and then we move forward to the game.
Absolutely. This game is possibly going to be the table turner. I really wanted to find out if some other team, somebody apart from possibly IQ Soul, Esports UP50, or even, as a matter of fact, Celsius, as a matter of fact, I thought somebody else will come up. Yeah. Speaking about coming up, it seems like I hear that bass, I hear that voice, and I know who is it. Mr. Necro
Oh,
is
yeah,
back
it's
on the
me,
desk.
Salty.
And Necro. Oh yeah, for sure it is gonna be you. But I'm gonna throw a question straight at you. What do you think of that game of Miramar? Of course, Team Soul, such domination. Did you expect that to get repeated?
I mean, of course I did. It's IQ Soul for you. They've got so much experience to back him up. One of the best teams inside of the region. I do not need to keep on going about this team, right? But the main expectations were from Metal Esports. Another big banner. Unfortunately, not able to play that well. But I guess you can still say the consistency is over there. Inside of the first game, they got 8 points in total. Now over here, 2. They got a decent amount of points to back him up. As long as you're getting more than 25 points in these 3 games, you should still be somewhere in the top 64 easily. And then inside of the second week, if you try to do a little bit more better, if you try to get yourself 30 points too in the upcoming 3 games, then it should be all good in the hood for you. Metal Esports, if for them just qualifying inside of the top 64 is the way to go, then yeah, the way they're playing should be okay. But if you want to qualify in the top 16 and moving directly for the round 4, then they would need to start dominating like IQ Soul and RIP Mizoram.
Absolutely. And in fact, if you think about RIP Mizo, they have been really great in terms of predicting the circle. The first game, they really got benefit out of it because they had so many finish points to work with. But now that they have taken a downward curve, it seems like they would just want to maintain the average. They would just want to maintain the consistency and try and finish themselves in a good position. But first, there's another team I really want to talk about. It has to be UP50 Necro, because it was one of my favorite, one of my unfavorite underdog teams from last season, and now they've finally made a comeback in the game of Miramar. I'm expecting big things on the map of Sank. Are you expecting that as well?
Sanhok is one of the maps that is heavily zone favored, Salty, and considering now the new zone meta and all that stuff like that, it really avoids you to go for those med strats. Now the room for error is even less, so Sanhok is really tough. Depending on the zone, whichever team the zone is favoring, there's a high chance that team's going to come out on top, unless you somehow pull off a miraculous rotation. And you also need to be super dominating. If you're not going to be the one to assert dominance inside of the late zone, you will be screwed up massively because you will be surrounded by a lot of teams. And Sanhok is known for third parties. You engage inside of a fight, you know there's going to be another team just waiting around the corner to take you down.
Absolutely, and if you think about the trend on the map of Sanhok for the past 2-3 days, right, we've had very weird circles, especially the ones on towards Camp Alpha and Camp Charlie, where there were so many water rotations. You remember that rotation from G2 Battlegrounds yesterday, just coming in from the waterways as well. I'm expecting to see some really unorthodox style of play, considering we have so many other teams, and there are names, of course, teams like ASG, teams like Celsius who've been in BGIS before, but still could not really make a mark. This is the opportunity to shine, Necro.
Okay.
I would say, yes, it is their opportunity to shine, considering Celsius, first 2 games, not able to perform, that's a big red flag. The same thing can be said for Metal Esports too, right? Metal Esports, okayish performance on the board, but that's not something you expect from such a big banner, right? You want to see them at least get a chicken dinner with decent amount of elimination points, and it might just be the same storyline that Wingod Esports yesterday brewed up. First 2 games, they completely bombed it. The third game, they got a chicken dinner and placed themselves in the top 5. Maybe the same storyline is brewing up for Celsius or either Metal Esports, but you asked me a question about UP50. Look, so far, with how much I've seen about this team, I would still say it's not enough to give any sort of solid statement. But I would still say, yes, they do have a solid chance of closing things out in Sanhok.
Sure, I mean, players like KSR, players like Sarkar, but coming back to the conversation of Metal Esports, right? There is one important player who is still sitting in the sidelines. I really want him to play, possibly in the playing 4 as well, and that is Dark Lord, right? Dark Lord was such an aggressive player, and I think that his addition to the lineup, especially recently, has really upped that firepower. And now that many people have been struggling getting those finish points on board, why not switch things up a little bit? Maybe bring in Dark Lord in the picture, and on the map of Sanhok, they can go all guns blazing.
That is true. They need to do so. Sanhok allows you to be aggressive, and especially this new point structure as well. It also allows you to be aggressive. Well, you know what? We've been speaking of Sanhok too much. Let's just directly jump inside of the map as the plane flat path starts all the way from Cow towards down south, which is going to be Docks. Now, the plane flat path really on this map, it does not really matter that much, considering you can stretch wherever you want and however you want. And that's where the plane flat path, considering it's not that bad too. So the teams, if they do want, they can even go towards Tombunk.
You know what? whenever I see Team IQ Soul on the map of Sanhok, it seems like, oh wow, what a sense of relief, because at least this time around, they don't have to compete with Global Esports on a drop collision, because
Oh, that
you
is true.
always think of that temple fight. You always think of the fight where IQ Soul and Global Esports, they're going to duke it out. But thankfully in this lobby, Global Esports is not present. But drop collisions, ladies and gentlemen, on the map of Sanhok, you cannot avoid them. There will be some or the other drop collision happening, and I'm expecting to see them. Paradise Resort, I think that is where it is happening, Necro. You've got RIP Mizo and Metal Esports at the same place.
And this is not a good news for Metal Esports. RIP, they've been doing a fantastic job in the first 2 games. Even if they do get eliminated off the rip, it's really not going to be hurting them that much. But for Metal Esports, the game of Sanhok is desperately needed. So RIP Mizo. For them, yeah, of course, they have something to lose as well, without a doubt, hands down. You don't want to be too far behind from the first placing team, which is probably going to be IQ Soul. But still, if you try to compare the performance with the players of Metal Esports, the pressure is going to be on the players of Metal Esports. And that's why you see them separating out or spreading out a little bit much. Chaser in the front lines, Kyoya trying to close in towards the compound, towards this building. He knows there's a man in the front too. Sees the door open completely. And Metal Esports, they spot out the man in the front. Chaser
What?
gets the first knockout. Kyoya slapped down. And Core now just looking forward to fall back a little bit more. But Metal Esports, they're engulfing the last remaining player, or at least the last player in front of him, of RIP Mizo. He's the only man in the front lines, but what am I watching? Chaser, he still knocks down 3 players. Metal Esports on the verge of getting eliminated. There's a chance they can't be eliminated too. A nade tossed in, catches Paradox. It's all down to Sayam. Metal Esports on the verge of getting eliminated from this game. It's going to be a massive blunder. Sayam needs to keep his position anonymous, but it's noted down by the opponents. Metal, they can see their qualification flashing in front of their eyes at this point. But Sayam, he gets 2 knockouts, but that's all he's going to get. RIP Mizo. What a quick execution that was.
I'm in shock, Necro. I am in shock right now. I did not expect this to happen. 1 player being chased down by 4 different players from such a big team, from such a big banner, and getting those 2 knockouts. Chaser has to be given due credits for this victory. Of course, he was that sacrificial lamb. He had to be taken down. He was traded out because of the numbers advantage. But taking down 2 players, eating up so much HP from the 3rd one as well. The way Team RIP capitalized on it was brilliant. Siam's individual efforts once again did kind of help Metal Esports a little bit, but then it was always going to be bad.
Yeah.
But RIP, what a start for this team. Beautiful, beautiful execution. You've got to give credit. For Metal Esports, you can't really say the same. They've really got to improve their team communication. I'm pretty sure there might be some issues going on, because I've seen Kyoya. This player was the breakout player from BGIS 2023. He went on to Team Xbox, went on to Big Brothers. He outshined his competition, every single one of those teams, but now he just does not look his own prime self.
He almost got all 3 of them. Almost. Metal Esports, honestly, they need to look back and see what exactly is going wrong with them. I mean, at this point, you cannot
Individual
avoid
peaks.
the amount of mistakes Metal Esports made. Yeah, as you mentioned, individual peaks at the start, yeah. But honestly, you can also say it were some amazing heroics from the man in the front lines, too. I mean, Chaser,
yeah.
he connected some quick shots. Especially on Kyoya. That was one of the most quickest shots I've seen with the DBS. Kyoya just went for a little bit of peek, instantly gets slapped in the face, and Kyoya gets knocked out. And that sort of just kept the entire team of Metal Esports in a big panic situation. And as I mentioned, Sanhok is one of those maps that is heavily zone favored, so it's better to have yourself a good head start and then move inside of the zone as quick as possible. ASG now, they've heard all the commotion, they've heard all the gunshots that were there in the front lines, and that's why you can see ASG just surrounding the entire Paradise Resort. One of the men spotted out in the front. Opportunity missed, and Hades, oh, this is not a good way to give your position away. It's better for ASG to just back away.
Yeah, for sure. I think they are going to back away eventually. It's not really easy to infiltrate inside of Paradise Resort, especially when there's a team who has established dominance over there. For now, I think Team ASG, they certainly are going to fall back. And surprisingly enough, this was my pick for Sanhok, Team ASG. Johnny asked me to go really off track and just pick a team who hasn't really performed in the first 2 games. So I thought ASG might be a good pick. I don't really want to get them eliminated right in the first moments because RIP, they're red hot in form right now. But Senji on the other side, they have pinned down their targets on Team Last Hope Esports right now. A couple of shots being taken, but not a lot of damage being dealt, Necro.
I just feel super bad for Metal Esports, man. The
Me too.
qualification's on the line for this team, man. In the upcoming 3 games, they would need to just go all in. Celsius for now, charging onto a compound. The team in the front lines is going to be INF. It will be a tough fight to execute, that's for sure. But so far, Celsius, they're having some light work. Easily shutting down the team in the front, slowly and steadily, just clenching their fists. And yeah, one more man to go. INF, I don't think so they're going to be able to survive too much of Celsius.
Too much of Celsius, huh? Heat has been brought on this time around. I'm pretty sure that this team will go in aggressive because if you remember, Necro, last season when these players were playing, their best strategy was going aggressive and really taking up the complications out of the game. Not really thinking too much, just using their instincts to play those fights. Having a look at this, Team CB Cannonballs against Orgless 5 have a certain advantage. One man being built already. The other 3, where are they? They will need to be able to find the target though. That certainly is a question.
CB, there is a man in the front lines, but still you can see CB does not have enough confidence to peek around the ridge. And CB just trying to toss in those nades, get the confirmations at the start. Third eye from the far away, just looking down on the opponents. Shots taken. It's still an uphill battle for the players of Arglist 5, and they've taken too much damage. The man backs away in the nick of time, now trying to patch himself up. The first knocks found CB with a big advantage, and Sirius just wrapping around the corner. This man's on a big flank, and I like this play from CB. This is just cutting down the overall movement the players of Orglist 5 can make in the fight. They do not really have a lot of places to maneuver. They do not really have a lot of instances and places to reposition themselves. And now Third Eye's getting charged upon. He gets shot at from the right lines. The flank is incredible. Nicely done by CB. Good stance inside of the fight.
For a matter of fact, Orgless 5, they aren't really capitalizing on it. And Team CB, I'm pretty sure they are in a very healthy position to counter anything Orgless 5 throws in at them. Sahil, of course, still standing in the back lines, just waiting for Team CB to approach him, but I don't think he will be able to do much. The numbers advantage is way too high for him, but on the other side, Team Celsius, they are being punished. At least Rixin has been. Mohit waiting for his opportunity to pounce, but now he's been set on fire. He's gonna get knocked out, will he?
Not yet. Not just yet. God's the one who's knocked out. Mohit's still trying to patch himself up, and he will do so. OG on the verge of getting eliminated. Reckless has already been eliminated from the game, but then Mohit falls down too. OG losing out on the man number slowly and steadily, and I like this new Celsius. Just pushing up against the opponents, does not even care about the world, and they are not being feared by OG. But OG, considering they've lost out on the man number, now Sandhu needs to pin himself down in that corner, and that's what he's doing. Pekka pushes up, and now he can feel the fear, and yeah, Pekka just shuts him down in the end.
7 eliminations for Team Celsius, and this is something which I've been craving for. I was crying for it when on the map of Miramar, Pekka was performing so brilliantly, but he had no teammates to support him. But this time, it feels like a whole new unit. The map of Sanhok certainly have woken up those dormant beasts in the form of Harshu, in the form of Dhruv, in the form of Rixin, and I really want to see where this team ends up in. I don't really want them to end up like Team BLT last day, where they had 7 to 8 eliminations within the first 2 circles, but then instantly get wiped off. I want Team Celsius to go all the way, Necro.
Honestly, props to OG though. Yeah, even though in that fight they had the big disadvantage, still they were not really scared of the opponents. They were still going for some of the peaks, yeah. I mean, they got knocked out after that. That's a whole nother thing. But still, it's not like they were in a big panic situation. They were still going for the peaks. They were still trying to convert the fights. But at that point, you were just completely pinned down, so nothing could be done in that instance. So in general, you can't say good execution from the side of Celsius, making that quick push happen. And now the fact that Celsius has amped up the aggression, I like that too. inside of the game of Sanok, as I mentioned, you need to be the one to assert the dominance. You need to be the one to get the good position inside of the zone. And the only way you can do so is by asserting dominance. It's by taking over compounds from other teams. And this is what exactly happened. Look at OG. They started things off quite nicely, being fearless. But then later on, Celsius, they made sure that OG will be hurt.
They were heard. And their screams were heard, in fact. But as a matter of fact, on the other side, you've also got to talk about Team Rising Star officials who are right next to Element X. Just eyeing up the opposition as of now, waiting for them to just come out in the open. As soon as they venture out in the open, I'm pretty sure they will rain down the bullets. But it's calm times on the map of Sanhok. It's stage 2, but so many teams have been wiped off in those initial collisions. Team Polar haven't really seen much from this team either. But you know, Sanhok presents everyone an even opportunity to make a comeback, and it seems like Celsius has been the one to make early capitalization on that fact. But I'm still willing to see the other teams and waiting to see how they plan out their strategies.
Look at the circle towards boot camp. Interesting. It's gonna spice things up even more. There's a lot of open terrains too. BH inside of this compound, sort of sharing the compounds or the houses with the players of CB, but for CB, they just want to take an exit from this entire fight that's brewing up. Unfortunately, Nate gets caught, so that's a bad news. It will be tough to get Nate back upon his feet. CB, they will need to try and close on up onto Nate as quick as possible, unless Nate's going to bleed to his death. At CB, they've got their own problems brewing up against SB. Wow, a lot of Bs here.
Sure. Zenji Esports and Cannonballs. Of course, Cannonballs have got one of their comrades knocked out, but I think the revival should not be that difficult. And even for Team Zenji Esports, right, the artillery warfare is there, but how do they close in the distance? No flanks deployed, no real vehicles as well for quick mobility. And this is where the flank actually starts taking place. They will have to find that opening against Cannonball's defensive fortress. Otherwise, if they ambush directly, I'm pretty sure it's going to be an easy wipe, clean sweep.
Nate FPS still knocked out. I genuinely think so CB should try and disengage from this fight, back away, and get the resurrection onto Nate. It's not that tough. If CB won, they can get the res back up easily. Just toss a couple of smokes and then try to go for the res. But instead, CB's too busy to try and take down SB. They're trying to chew on things that might just be tough to chew. And for SB, all they need to do is just hold on to this fight, I guess, for as long as possible. Because CB, even they're down to a 3-man squad. So it's an even Steven between these two, but considering SB's on a little bit of a low ground, it is an uphill battle for the players of SB. They've got a little bit of a disadvantage inside of this one. At CB, if they wanted, they could have got the 4th man back upon his feet, but for some reason, they just did not care.
Yeah. With Necro, both of these two teams are outside the circle. 170 meters of the circle, and we know how much Sanhok punishes those late rotations. Do you really think this fight is actually worth it, or do you think it has turned into an ego warfare right there?
I mean, CB does not really need this fight. I think so the only reason why CB's going for this fight is because they know this is the last game for the day, and they just want to get as many points as possible. Because the first 2 games, they have not been that great. So CB's like, you might as well just go for it. You might as well at least die trying.
Wow.
Yeah, Megamind gives his position away with those shots. Mr. Cut's going to be able to back away, at least for now. But then Mr. Cute out in the open gets caught. He's too low. And even the Wall of Death is chipping out some more damage. As I mentioned, Sanhok is quite a zone-centric game, so you need to be inside of the zone as quick as possible. And then assert your dominance for better spots, too. Vampire being able to catch one of the players. Nicely done. CB off to a great start in this fight. SB taken down to a 2-man squad. It's a 3v2. SB in the front lines. The players are softened up, of course. Megamind, even he's getting chipped up a lot by the zone. They need to move in. The time's ticking. And Salty, I'm pretty sure these are one of those teams that are not going to be able to assert their dominance that well in the lobby.
Absolutely. So far, they will have to finish off this fight as quickly as possible. And I think Megamind is on his way to do that. Almost connected the shot. The knockout was there. But at least what they're doing is pushing Zenji towards that blue zone, making them suffocate through that electrocution. It's not going to be easy for them to rotate. Meanwhile, on the other side, Team CB, they're on the rotation already. Got themselves a vehicle. They are on their merry run, but look at this. Their vehicle is being ambushed. Shots coming all along, but who is it coming from? Is it ASG in the back lines? I think so. Even there is another player very close by. Look at that radar. You will have to be very wary. These panic situations, these immediate rotations that happen with the vehicle, this is where majority of the risk lies. Speaking of risk, look at this. Nirvana has had the risk of a monstrous team in front of him.
Yeah. But you know what? This team has defeated that team with a man disadvantage on the map 1. So once again, I highly doubt RIP is going to be that scared of IQ Soul. Nirvana slowly and steadily, just a snake trying to catch up. He spots out Manya, just waiting for the right instance. If Nirvana finds a knock on to Manya, that's going to be a great start for RIP Mizo in this fight. And Manya is just sitting still. This is the right moment to strike. Manya can be taken down, and he does so. IQ Soul in a big wall of trouble. Now the fight's taken down with 3v3. It can be easily convertible. And Manya is trying to back away. But this Nate's probably going to find the confirmation. But no, what a big blunder that was from Nirvana. He should have peeked from the other side. And this is something that's going to give the advantage back in the hands of IQ Soul. This fight's like a pendulum. The advantage keeps on shifting in one side and then from the other.
Absolutely, but now there's nothing the Team RIP can do, right? Because Nirvana had no backup in that situation. He had to finish off Manya to gain any sort of advantage in that fight. And Team IQ, well, they're gonna punish if you try and do that cheeky little thing to their in-game leader. Of course, Manya will be brought back up and Team IQ Soul will be 4-man strong, but now they have been woken up. Trying to get as much information as they can, moving around with vehicles, and Team RIP, they might get ambushed. Manya wants to finish him off with a buggy, and that might just be revenge for him.
Manya's vehicle, it's smoking, it's on fire. He cannot afford to keep on driving that buggy for too long. It's going to blow up within a couple of bullets. Manya needs to be careful over there, but RS in front of us. Akshay was knocked out a while ago. For RS, that's a bit of a sign of discomfort. RS spotting out the players of UP50 in the front lines. Even UP50, they need to be on the comfortable and consistent note. Flink YT taken down. It's going to be IQ Soul to shut down and send RIP Mizo back to the lobby.
Absolutely, 4 finishes on board. Once again, just preserving all of those players. It's a great start for this team. It seems like they aren't really breaking a sweat so far in this lobby. UP50 on the other side, just traversing right in between RS and, if I'm not mistaken, Team Polar. So that is a dangerous territory where they are and can be sandwiched when these two teams decide to pinch them from 2 different sides. But on the other side of the zone, you've got Team IQ Soul, who is currently dealing with cannonballs. And now look at this, Megamind has been pushed back with the Molotov. Love the way Team IQ Soul is just playing around with the position of their oppositions, but so far, they're yet to start getting up on that finish frenzy.
IQ Soul once again spotting out Celsius. Celsius, they've been feeling at the top of their game. The man could be knocked out. Rickson backs away. Bunny hops away from this entire spray. Luckily enough, Rickson is still alive. Celsius, they've got all the 4 players up and alive. IQ Soul definitely looking forward to take down the man number from Celsius. Considering Soul, they've got a decent amount of spot for themselves to play with. And also the split that Soul has got, it's also quite nice. UP50 now looking forward to charge up and press up against the players of EM. Prime and Ajax in the front lines. And UP50 also getting shot at from somewhere else. A third party on the way. UP50, a big blunder brewing up in front of them. They need to convert this fight in their favor as quick as possible. They cannot afford to keep on wasting time. And look at what EM are doing. Now Prime's starting to get impatient. He can hear the shots on the around the corner. And he wants to take the advantage of the fact that UP50 are also losing out on the man number. Pulls out the DBS. The man's inside of the house too. He knocks the first. The second one goes down too. UP50, what a big blunder that was. Ajax still up on his feet. Anonymous all by himself inside of the fight. Trying to get the rest back up onto Kanha. And he will do so successfully as well. If Ajax has got his hands on any type of utility, it is better to toss it right now.
For sure, but so far they were actually trying to get themselves one fit, but instant cutback. Team Element X, they have wiped the floor with Team UP50, and this is not a performance that I expected. Of course, the blue zone was pinching them from the back lines, and it was very hard for them to breathe in that pocket of space. But the way Prime in that position just used his DBS, got the first 2 knocks, is absolutely sentient. And so far, IQ Soul, as of now, they've got mammoth map control. The only team who's got a massive spread, and they can control the pacing of every single player who is trying to approach them. First up, I think it's going to be Team Celsius.
Even Celsius trying to spread themselves out. Unfortunately, they do not really have the man number to back that spread up. While if you speak about IQ Soul, they've got 3 players standing on the feet. And those 3 players, they're controlling the majority of the zone too. 50% of the zone is being controlled by IQ Soul. They've got so much space to move around with. And all the 4 players of Soul, probably they've got every single team's positioning down. And that is what is happening. First man taken down from Celsius. Another man, Rickson, is around the corner. It's going to be tough to get your hands on the Rickson, but another man on the right lines has been spotted. IQ Soul slowly and steadily now starting to be a little bit more aggressive, trying to cut off the team's lifeline in the front lines. And a lot of teams just in between both of the mountains, or in between both of the hills. And this is where IQ Soul is now finally trying to execute the fight. Fixes, he's getting chipped up a little bit too much inside of that shack. Fixes is trying his best to fight back, but the nade blows him up. Or no, instead, it's Knuckle who shuts down Fixes. IQ Soul, of course the confidence is going to be there. They've tasted a lot of blood, and they want some more.
They certainly want some more, and it seems like they have completely bolstered the competition. A great winner chicken dinner to actually work with, and what a consistency from this lineup.
IQ Soul, what a incredible game that was. Back-to-back chicken dinner from IQ Soul, and that's going to give them so many points. It's insane. IQ Soul, this domination they have showcased in the 3 games, it's been incredible. Of course, this team is going to be the table toppers for this group. But then speaking of Celsius, nice try, I would say valiant effort even from the side of Celsius. They were trying their best to get their name up on the board. They were trying their best to be as aggressive as possible in the end. Unfortunately, things just did not work out. They did not have enough amount of man number to back him up. But speak of Soul, with the way they took the zone control, with the way they took the area control, this is what Soul realized. They know that the more the area you're going to be having in the map of Sandhog, the better it is. Because it is a zone-centric game at the end of the day. And if you get the final zone on top of you, well, that's your chicken dinner to be claimed. And that's what Team Soul did.
Absolutely, and the way they have been able to execute these zone controls game after game just goes to show the amount of work that has been done behind the scenes as well, right? Even on the map of Miramar, they had massive zone control. There was nobody else that was competing with them. Even on the map of Wrangell, they had pretty decent one. Here on the map of Sanhok soon, just like you said, when the final shift happened, Team Soul is like, all right, fine, this is our circle. What are you going to do about it? Absolutely nothing. But I've got to give credits to Celsius as well. I really love the way they started things off. I think the approach is there and the intent is there. They certainly haven't really made a mark in the first 3 games, but Necro, I think I'll be watching out for the next 3 games that this team is going to play.
And then, how can you forget what happened with Metal Esports? That was a big blunder inside of Paradise Resort. RIP Mizo, that one single man Chaser, just doing so much damage against Metal Esports. And then Metal Esports was in a big state of panic. They were not able to recover from that. And then RIP Mizo, the backup, arrived. They shut down the entirety of Metal Esports just like that. But honestly, all props to Chaser. This man single-handedly gave them a good chase.
Gave them a good chase outside the lobby, to be honest, because yeah, for sure, for Metal Esports, I'm not really sure what was going wrong. The spot was really good, to be honest. They did not go in straight. Instead, they knew on the outskirts of Paradise Resort, there's just one man who is isolated, and that was Chaser from RIP Mizo. And I thought that 4 men rushing onto one guy, what could possibly be the outcome? I was certain in my head. And for sure, that did happen. But 2 knockouts from Chaser and the way the rest of the teammates followed up, that's so brilliant. I did expect a lot more from Metal Esports on Necro, I'm not gonna lie, but things like these do happen. There are always slump in form, and I think a team only is called a great team if they know how to come back from these slumps.
Honestly, I like that thinking for Middle Esports, though, knowing the fact that there's one player isolated in the outskirts of Paradise Resort, making a push happen against that player, trying to shut him down, and then